Okay, so welcome to the Node.js Community Diagnostics Team Working Group meeting for April 3rd, 2019. Mike Kaufman couldn't make it today, so starting up the stream and we'll get started. So following the agenda posted in the issue, any announcements or things that people want to add to the agenda before we get started?
Just briefly, I finally started to working on the Node.js diagnostic user journeys, what I promised on the last summit. My plan is that to share some kind of draft by the end of this week and to see how do you like it, what do you think about it. So basically this draft will contain the structure and I will fulfill 1-2 user journeys. And after that, I expect some feedback that even worth to continue, or should I change the structure, and so on. So I'm planning to share it by the end of this week. Okay.
The draft for, what was it again?
It's for the diagnostic user journeys. So it's basically like in production, finding a memory leak. What are the symptoms?
Right, okay. Yep. Okay. Okay, so diagnostic memory leak.
I mean, not just memory leak. I am trying to cover all the most common diagnostic user journeys.
Right. Okay.
So diagnostic usage in general.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. So basically, adding to the use cases we have for the best practices.
Yeah, it's related to both.
Okay.
I can just mention that I merged the PR for the summit action items with links to videos, etc. And if people want to add their slides to that markdown file, links to slides, it is a folder in the GitHub repo, so you can even put a PDF or whatever in the GitHub repo with the actual slides if you want to do that, or just link to slide deck or wherever you have them. If you gave a talk at the summit, that would be great.
Okay, so I just took the notes. Thomas merged the doc with Mitch from the summit. If you had slides, please add to the folder. Sounds good.
I guess I'll
go ahead.
Sorry. No, I guess since everyone is talking about what they just did, I will just say I'm probably between now and the next diagnostic meeting, I'll be ready to have like Perfetto code for reviews, so or feedback on like the initial design. So I think there's a process in creating like maybe like a fork under the Node.js organization. I still need to like iron out like the build files and stuff. I haven't done that yet, but yeah, hopefully we'll have a fork set up.
Okay, so what you're suggesting is we should start to work on it in a separate, like another fork. We did that for an API, and I know Quick, they're doing that, HTTP2.
Yeah,
so.
HTTP2, yeah. So
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It's really just open an issue in the admin repo saying, hey, I'd like to create this new repo under the org and for this reason.
Okay. Okay.
And then, you know, people will chime in, and, you know, once that's there, I can help create it if you can't do it yourself.
Okay. Yeah, I'll do that then. Thanks.
Okay. Okay, any other announcements or things people want to bring up? No? Okay.
I'm
I'm
not sure how relevant it is, but at Netflix, we started to consider using open census and work on the Node.js agent. We already have a meeting with Kevin and Ali last week about some collaboration. I'm not sure how relevant it is. Just
okay. Now that's interesting. Interesting for me.
Okay.
Netflix thinking about open census client and talking to
Ali.
Ali's Kelvin. I guess I'll add is if there's any chance maybe you can invite me to that meeting.
I mean, there was already one meeting between the Open Census Google and not Google and the Netflix team, because we are planning to propose some changes in the agent.
Okay.
It's a super early phase. I would say we are still in the proof of concept phase. Just a heads up that we are considering to use that as an instrumentation for distributed tracing at Netflix.
Right, yeah, and I'm interested because I'm looking at it in terms of whether it should be what we recommend for the IBM Cloud as well.
Okay.
I did have a quick chat with Ali, but if it's already been held, I missed the boat. But if there was like a discussion on how you get involved and what's going on, would have been interesting. So.
Yeah. If you want to know more, I can talk to Lee about setting up another meeting.
Okay.
I can talk to you about that.
Yeah, that would probably be good.
So
get some, and I'll invite a few other people too. So.
Yeah, can I ask, when you said that you were considering making a proposal for a change to the agent, Open Census agent, is that the agent or the library?
It's a node library.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty early still, if I recall correctly.
Yeah. In a really nutshell, it uses continuous local storage right now, and we don't really need it because we have a full control over instrumentation. There is some API. I don't know. Maybe it's just around making child spans, which doesn't really fit our use case. So it's really just these basic stuffs.
Okay, interesting. Thanks.
Okay. So yeah, no, if Kevin, I'm gonna just type in Michael interested as well. Census Kelvin to set. Okay. Any other comments or discussion? No? Okay, so let's move on to the issues on the agenda then. The first one that's been tagged is 24687, which is support pausing the debugger on script load. I'm just going to open that one up. We can see who opened that and who's been involved and what's the latest. I guess there was a patch proposed for V8CL. I don't know if anybody knows or has any context on that one.
Yes, it's a no.
Okay, I was just looking at it to see if there's anything. So I think we'll leave it on the agenda in case somebody else has some more context next time. So let's move on to the next one. So postmortem debugging support inside of V8 Node.js. This is number 227. Let's see.
Just note on the previous issue, I think that Alexei, who posted that CL doesn't work at Google anymore, so it might sort of be like an orphan feature.
Okay.
But I can ask someone on the VA team about that. But anyway, going on to this.
No, that's good. Just taking a note that you'll follow up, and because it might be an orphan. Sounds good. Yeah. Okay. So 227. Let's see.
This one looks pretty general, no?
Yeah. I think, we've discussed that at the Diagnostics Summit. I think we have a way forward in terms of, we need to get more things torquified. And it sounded like Yang was going to work with, I forget his name, but the guy from Microsoft. I'm thinking maybe that one we can take off the agenda for now, and until there's something that we need to discuss in the meeting itself. Does that make sense to people?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. And I'm going to do that right now. Okay. Oops. am I still here?
We can hear you, but we
we can
don't
hear
see
you.
you.
Yeah, my whole screen just went black. Let's see if things are going to come back or not. Uh-huh. I'm going to see if I can, sorry, I'm going to have to see if I can get my machine to come back.
Yep.
Without dropping the whole meeting. Yeah, Chrome has stopped responding. I'm going to drop. Everybody may have to log back in. I'm not sure.
Same link?
It should be the same link, yes.
Okay. Maybe you can make one of us host first.
I can't do anything like
yeah,
window
okay.
or nothing.
Of course.
Although here maybe I can relog in. See if I can get in and do that. So let's see here. Shoes. Maybe I'll try with
because I think it works like if the host quits a Zoom meeting, then the meeting ends.
Yeah, that's what I think. I'm trying to see, maybe I can log in here with the
No, it didn't end. Now he's an attendee. I can promote him. There we go. Huh. I tried to promote you. Hopefully that worked.
Oh, I see the flashing screen.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, now I'm back.
But your screen is flashing like crazy. I think something is up with your camera feed somehow, software-wise. Maybe if you switch off your camera.
Yeah, is that gonna, okay, let's just stop the video. Is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, let's keep going and I'll fix myself up afterwards.
Interesting that the stream, the meeting didn't end though. That's nice.
Yeah, I don't quite.
Why it didn't?
I think I was still half connected because I didn't reboot my whole machine. I just logged in with something else. Okay. Right, so we were talking about 227, which we took off the agenda. So next thing was the best practices guide. I've been away. I was away on vacation last week, so I haven't had any time to work on that. Peter already mentioned he's starting to work on some of the use cases that will relate to that.
Yes, so I started to work from different angle, but it looks like there will be lots of overlapping.
Okay.
So I'm trying to share this document, what I'm working on by the end of the week, and let's see what are the overlapping areas.
Okay, sounds good.
Because I was looking into this more like collecting the use cases to kind of drive what kind of tools do we need on a long term and strategy and those kind of things.
Yep. No, I think that makes sense. Like that's what we tried to have is like start from here's the things, the problems you were trying to fix, which I think is basically the use cases. So it'll be interesting to see what you have and we can work from that.
Cool.
Identify to start on concrete. And I'm also trying to hook up with Jarish just to get us started on some of the concrete steps that we talked about. Okay, 168, Diagnostics WG deep dives. I don't think there's anything new on that front. Does anybody else has any info?
Nope.
The next one is 157, which is expectation about tier support. And I think we've agreed we're going to drive that based on the best practices. So, we need to get one of the best practices in place. And then once we have that in place, we'll look at the tiers to make sure that we're properly supporting the tools they call out. So otherwise, nothing new on that front. A stable API for async hooks. I don't know if anybody has any new or anything new to report on that.
Not specifically on async hooks. It was, but I don't think that we actually updated the issue after the summit, which might be a good idea because we did reach a semi-conclusion on the summit about not trying to necessarily reach a stable API for async hooks right now, but instead look at the continuous local storage as a first-class citizen that would then make a stable API less important for the time being.
Right.
So maybe that should be added as a comment to that issue. Yeah.
I think we might also then want to put, like as one of our strategic initiatives for the working group, a CLS API and nominate somebody as the champion for that.
Yeah, that's a good question. I guess it's kind of like borderline, not really diagnostics, right? I'm not really sure where it falls under, if it falls under diagnostics or not.
Yeah, I think it's kind of it's the thing that's the team that it's most related to, and it is supporting.
That's true. We're probably the ones that needed the most.
Yeah, we're talking about like it's used in Open Census or would be used in Open Census and other things like that. So
basically any APM vendor.
Yeah. So I'm just, if there is anybody who wanted to volunteer and add that in as initiative, I think that would be good. Because there was a PR, but I think it's going to need some help and push.
When you say volunteer, is that adding it to the list of initiatives, volunteer to land it in core?
Well, volunteer to add it to the list of initiatives and be the diagnostics champion for it. Not necessarily to land it and to do all the work, but to kind of keep an eye on it, figure out prod people, that kind of stuff. Possibly do some of the work as well.
Yeah, I can do that. I forgot who is actually. I think there was already a PR for it, right?
Yeah, it was Vladimir.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
Because I think there was a lot of discussion to start, but I haven't seen too much lately.
It's Vladimir who made it. Yeah. I have it on my to-do list that I need to do it. So much stuff. But I can. Isn't Vladimir part of this group? No, he's security.
Yeah, he's very involved in the security one. I didn't think.
Yeah,
he's not.
Yeah. Okay. I can champion this.
Okay. Sounds good. Async contest formalization and diagnostic support. I haven't heard anything, but Michael K, was going to talk to Microsoft team about potential experimentation in V8 weeks since we don't have Mike. Okay. And the last one, trace event tracking issue 84. I don't think there's been too much on that. Michael did work with IBMer, and I forget her name, but there was an IBMer interested in getting involved in Node. And so one of the things that I talked to her about getting involved in was to help starting to add some trace points. So kind of as a background effort, that's one of the things she's gonna work on. One thing there is, I think as we see some initial PRs, we'll need to think about, the approach we took on the Java side at IBM was like we added lots and lots of trace points because you're never really sure what you're going to need, but they're off by default, and then we enable them. The other approach is like to try and be more selective, but then you need to have a pretty good idea of what you think you need, right? So I think in talking to James, there was, I think he was thinking a little bit like, well, we have to be a bit careful what we add. So we probably need to think as a team, is it one end of the approach, one end of the add anything or add focus things or something in between that we think is the right way, because we don't want to sort of fight that out on every single PR, I don't think.
Are you talking about like there being maybe like too many trace events or something, potentially?
Well, I think that was a potential concern that like if you add them all over the place, they can be noisy. But on the other hand, if you have a proper sort of set of levels and can turn them on individually, and they're off by default, as long as the overhead of having them there and off is okay, then it's not an issue, right? So it's kind of around the, so I think on the Java side, we ended up with trace points in most places, but they're mostly off, right? And then when you're debugging something, it's like, they're already there. It's great. You can just turn them on.
Right. Are there different like numerical levels to the trace events in Java, or?
Yeah, there's basically different categories. So you could enable specific ones or specific categories. And I think they each also had like a level associated, which was kind of like a cost.
Okay.
So, if they were super cheap, they were probably level 1. If they were more expensive, level 2, and then like 5, it's like, okay, yeah, this one's super expensive. So you could also enable, if I remember correctly, based on how much overhead you were adding by turning them on. So we probably need to think a bit about that. I guess that relates to the Perfetto implementation, how you do the same kind of thing, right?
Yeah, I don't think Perfetto expands over what trace events is doing now. But I'll have to look at because Chrome is doing some new things with trace events. So I was just curious. Yeah, I mean, there is a concept of categories in trace events, but no, as far as I know, no concept of like priority or levels or anything like that.
Okay.
But that's maybe something that Perfetto has already considered. I can talk to them about that as well. I wrote that down.
Okay. Yeah, it'd be worth figuring that out, because the more like if we can just add things and then get them turned on when we need them, that's probably best, because I think it's going to be hard to predict what you want until you really, really want it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so actually I'll take a note. Kelvin, check with, okay, and I think that takes us to the end of the things that were tagged for the agenda. So anything else that we want to talk about before we call it for today?
Not on my side.
Not good, thanks.
Nope. Okay. Sounds great. Thanks for everybody taking the time, and we'll talk to you next time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
For taking
Bye.
notes.
Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.